بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to day 12 of Quran Recitation Mastery. In this video, I'll be talking about long vowels. But before we proceed, let me revise the previous lessons. We talked about Hamzatul Wasl the previous lesson, and I said that Hamzatul Wasl has 5 rules. The first one is when you have to skip it. The second one is and you have to skip it when it's in between words. The second rule is that you skip it again, but now when med precedes it, that means you see med before hamzatul wasl, so you have to cancel both med and hamzatul wasl. The next rule, which is the third one, is when you have to give hamzatul wasl fatha. You would give hamzatul wasl fatha when lam the asukun precedes it. And then the fourth rule, which is when you have to give it kasra. You give Amsatul Wasl kasra when the third letter in that word, Amsatul Wasl being the first letter. That means you have one, Amsatul Wasl counts as one. Then a letter would be before the third letter. So that means the third letter, once it has either fatha or kasra, you would have to give the Amsatul Wasl kasra. And then the last one is when you have to give Hamzatul Wasl Dhamma. You would give Hamzatul Wasl Dhamma when the third letter in the word takes Dhamma. And again, there are exceptions to this, just 5 words in the Quran that aren't like this. So make sure you refer to the previous video if you haven't watched it so that you would understand what I'm talking about and you get to know the exceptions. Now, let's talk about long vowels. There are 3 long vowels which are alif, waw, and ya. If you can recall vividly, I explained this when I was explaining the makharij. When I was explaining makharij, I said, when I explained alif, I said alif is a long vowel, but it will become a consonant when we have the surgical marks on top of it. So when alif, waw, and ya are written like this without anything on top of them, you say that they are long vowels. So the long vowel alif is represented by double A, that is the transliteration, and it's pronounced as in ah. And then we have wow. Wow is represented by double O or W, and then it is pronounced as ooh. Then we have ya. Ya is represented by either I or EE. It depends. And then, people translate, or let me say transliterate differently. So that one is pronounced as E. So we have A, E, U. So they are also called huruful illah. That means the long vowels are also called huruful illah. So it's either you call them long vowels or you call them huruful illah. Long vowels will be preceded by letters with short vowel. That means that you can't have long vowel at the beginning of a word because a letter has to precede it. And which letter in this case? A letter that takes short vowel. Either fatha, kasra, or dhamma. Or, either fatha, kasra, or dhamma. So you can't see a letter that has sukun before mad. Before long vowel, it's impossible. So you would have to see a short vowel before mad, either alif long vowel, wow, or ya. So here we're saying alif would be preceded by a letter with a short vowel fatha. Now this is it. When a letter has fatha, you pronounce it as, okay, let's say we have ba fatha, we say it is ba, right? Ba kasra is b, ba dhamma is bu. And recall here that I said that long vowel alif is represented by a, that is, it is pronounced by a. So since we have a and then a, so we should say that, okay, that means the letter that has short vowel before the long vowel must take fatha. The short vowel must be fatha. So there is no way you can see a letter with kasra or dhamma before alif. I mean alif as a long vowel. So wa would be preceded by a letter with dhamma. That means a letter with dhamma would come before wow. So as in when we have ba dhamma, we say bu, right? So now when we have ba dhamma, then we have wow, long vowel wow. That is, it is also called mad. So we say wa mad. So instead of you saying long vowel, you can say mad. So we have wow mad, we say it is boo. So you can't have ba fatha and wow mad. It's, you can't even pronounce it. You won't be able to pronounce it when you have ba dhamma and then you have alif mad. If you want to pronounce it, just try it. You would say that it is impossible. So we have ya would be preceded by a letter with kasra, as in b, ba kasra ya mad, b. So yeah, you can see that in the examples I gave, ba and then alif mad. I didn't put any short vowel on top of the ba because of what I explained earlier, that a letter that has fatha would always precede alif mad. So here you should know that obviously the letter ba here should take fatha because you have alif immediately after it. And then here when it has dhamma, they say that okay, seems the letter before it would have to take dhamma because we have waw maddi immediately after it. So that's how I got the ba dhamma waw maddi boo. Then we have ba and then ya maddi. Yeah, you should already know that the ba would take kasra because we have ya maddi immediately after it. So we have b. Long vowels are found at the middle or end of a word but can never be found at the beginning of a word because a letter with a short vowel has to precede it. Yes, yeah, you should have already known. Yeah, that there is no way mad can start a word. It's either at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end. It can never be at the beginning because when mad is at the beginning, you won't be able to pronounce the word. So when it is in between a word or at the end of a word, you'll be able to pronounce it in those cases. But when it is at the beginning, you won't be able to pronounce it. So we have ba fatha, then alif mad, that is ba. Then we have ba dummatan, bun. So we have babun, not babun. If you say babun, that means you didn't give it alif mad, you didn't pronounce the mad. And in that case, you would notice that your tongue is not agreeing with you because when I said babun, just like I'm blabbering, right? But when I say babun, that is good. That is, So we have baiti, not baiti, but baiti. So we have babun and baiti. So what you would notice in those cases is that I elongated the letter that has mud attached to it. That means the letter before the mud would be elongated. Yeah, I didn't say babun, but babun. I elongated the ba because it has mad. And then in the case of baiti, I didn't say baiti, but baiti because we have ya maddi attached to the ta. So I have to elongate the letter ta. Long vowels don't have their symmetrical marks. but are preceded by a letter with a short vowels. So the fact that they don't have diacritical marks make them a long vowel. I already said previously that when alif, wow, or ya has no, when any of them has no diacritical marks, so you say that they are long vowels. But when you have wa fatha, that means the wow in that case is a consonant. When you have wa kasra, wow in that case is consonant. Wa dhamma, wow in that case is consonant. But when you have wow that doesn't have any diacritical marks on it, so you say that it is a long vowel. In other words, it is a mud. So that means it is used for elongation. Long vowels become consonants when they have diacritical marks. I explained this already, and I'm sure by now you should have understood what long vowels are and then um how to pronounce them when you have them in between words. Now, so your exercise is self-test. Find 20 Arabic words that have long vowels and try pronouncing them. I made a mistake there. Revise previous lessons and then practice by reciting the Quran. There is no way you can learn to read. There is no way you can learn to read and recite perfectly without you practicing. You have to practice. And now we've already done the basic aspect of the read. Like all you need to know, the basic level. Like all you need to know basically about Qur'an recitation. So now we have to move on to the advanced level. The advanced level here, I mean that okay, when you see this before this, you pronounce it this way. When you see this, you pronounce it this way and not this way, which is the basic level. We get it. So that's it. And then before then, we would go through recitation practice, like we practice recitation of the Quran with what we've learned so far with the basic lessons we've done so far, and then that should last us for like 5 days, inshallah. So make sure you practice yourself and then make sure you meet a teacher or just anyone that can serve as a teacher, but the person must have a sound recitation and should be vast in tajweed. Now, make sure you share this video to your friends if you learned anything, and then like the video, drop a comment, maybe you have a question or anything, and then make sure you subscribe to my channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. See you in the next lesson.